Yeah, so this weekend was the Masters, which, if you're not a sports fan or a golf fan, it is, I would argue, the most important tournament of the golf season. It's one of four what they call majors, and it's my personal favorite. It's a bucket list item to go to Augusta, Georgia, and spend a week watching the greatest golfers in the world do their thing on what I think is the greatest course in the world. And so it's always fun to watch it. It's just beautiful. Like, it is the most visually appealing sporting event. Like, it's unbelievable to watch with all the azaleas blooming and the flowers and the greens. It's just an unbelievable, picture perfect place. So even if you're not a sports fan, it's a great thing to just take a nap to on a Saturday or Sunday afternoon. Turn on golf, listen to the soft clap, listen to the birds making noise, and take a nice little nap. And so that's what we did yesterday. After a really busy Saturday, we slowed down on Sunday. We're trying to get better at slowing down on Sundays, and took a little bit of a nap, but watched the Masters and watched Hideki Matsuyama win his first, they call it the green jacket. When you win the Masters, your prize is a coveted green jacket. And so Hideki Matsuyama was the first Japanese man to win a green jacket, which is also really interesting, just given kind of what's going on in our country and our culture right now. Just a really beautiful moment. But I also just love golf because I think it is such a great picture of what it means to have a healthy, invincible, strong mindset. Because there's so many lessons that you get from golf, and watching yesterday was a perfect example of it. So Matsuyama came into Sunday with I think it was a 4-stroke lead, which is pretty significant, but it can also go south really quickly. In 2 holes, he could have erased everything. And he started off, his first shot was way off into the trees. And so it was already, right, you're standing up there, first tee shot, final round of a major at Augusta, the Masters, and you're the leader. 18 holes, if you can just keep it together, you get the green jacket. So all the nerves that come from that, all the anxiety, all the stress, all the fear, and then you hit a terrible shot. And that's where mindset has to kick in. Right? Because you're going to hit bad shots. You're not going to be perfect. You're not going to play the perfect round of golf. But he hit that shot, ended up, I think, bogeyed the first hole, which means he did 1 over what you're supposed to do for that hole, came back and birdied the next hole. And he recovered, right? And the idea with golf is, like, you're going to hit a bad shot, but it doesn't have to impact your next shot, right? 1 bad shot doesn't have to lead to 2 bad shots, lead to 3 bad shots, lead to 4 bad shots. But that's how it goes for so many. Right, they hit 1 bad shot, and the next thing you know, they've got a triple bogey on a hole, and they're completely out of contention. And it's not because they're bad golfers. It's all mental, right? You get in that moment, you've prepared for it, right? They hit thousands of shots a week preparing to go perform. And then they get out there, and mentally, it's, can you focus on the moment? Can you be present in the moment? Can you fight through fear, insecurity, to lead yourself well, to say, I'm only going to control what I can control, which is the other thing about golf. It's all up to you, right? In basketball and football and baseball and soccer, all these other sports, like, what you do matters, but you've got a team around you. So if you make a couple of mistakes, your team can overcome those mistakes because it's not fully reliant upon you. But in golf, it's just you. And you can't control what your opponent does. You can't control what the rest of the competition is doing. It's just you versus you. And so can you go out and hit a shot, and then every shot have the mindset that every shot is new. Every swing is new. Your last shot doesn't impact your next shot, which is such a lesson for us in life, right? Like, we're going to make bad decisions. We're going to stumble. We're going to fall. Maybe you had a bad last week, all right? Maybe you had a few failures last week. Maybe you made a few mistakes last week. And what we tend to do is over focus on those mistakes, on those failures, on those struggles. Like, oh, I can't believe I did it. Oh, I'm so dumb. Now I'm going to screw this one up too, because all I do is screw these things up. And then it snowballs. And a bad day turns into a bad week, turns into a bad month. And you look up like, man, I'm just having a string of bad luck. No, you're having a string of bad thoughts. And those bad thoughts are leading to a string of bad actions, which are leading to a string of bad outcomes. But just like in golf, you're going to make those bad shots. Can you let that shot be what it was? Hey, that was a bad shot. Didn't hit that well, messed that up. I'm not in the position I want to be in right now. That's okay, because this is a new shot. This is a new chance to get back on track. And so the ability to fight through that. And we're working with teams all the time. I always use golf as an example, because there are a lot of golfers. I fully believe there are a lot of golfers who are better than anybody who played at the Masters this weekend. that were sitting at home on their couch. They have the skill, they have the ability to go out and play golf at an unbelievably high level. But mentally, they don't have what it takes. When they step on that first tee, they can't handle it. When they hit a bad shot, they can't handle it. And they go out looking like you and I playing golf, which is not their skill level. They don't perform up to their potential. And it's not because of their skill, it's because of their mindset. But the same is true for all of us and whatever our work is, right? It's not our skill that's taking us out. We can always get better at our job, whether you're a teacher or a salesman or an engineer or a doctor or a manager, whatever your role is, you can always get better. And we're always reading books and going to conventions and doing trainings to get better at, become more talented, more skillful at our craft. But it's our mindset that often is taking us out. It's our mindset that prevents us from performing to our fullest potential, because one bad decision leads to another, leads to another, leads to another. And so that's why I love the game of golf, because it's just a mental battle. It's you versus you for 18 holes. Can you focus on what you focus on? Can you control your emotions? Can you focus on the things that you control and not everything going on around you? It is the perfect picture of mental strength, of testing yourself mentally, of grinding through, 70 shots, 65 shots, hopefully not 80 shots, but of grinding through 70 shots of repetition, of resetting. Like every shot's new. So learning 70 times to walk up saying, this is a new shot. This is maybe the last shot was great, right? Good or bad, your last shot doesn't determine your next shot. Good or bad, your last week doesn't determine this week. Good or bad, yesterday doesn't determine your today, right? Today doesn't care about yesterday's failures. It just doesn't. They're gone. You've already lived them once. You don't need to live them again and keep reliving them over and over and over. They are gone. They are in the past. Today also doesn't care about yesterday's successes. Right? We tend to rest on our accomplishments of the past. It's like, those are great, but it's not a, what have you done for me lately? It's just, are you bringing your best today? Because you see golfers who will win once or hit one good shot. You're like, I've got it. I've made it. And then completely fall apart. Or they win one tournament, win one major, and then we never hear from them again because that complacency set in, unhealthy mindset set in. And so like today, the point of golf, the point of Monday mindset, the point of what you're doing today is like, today demands your best. This moment demands your best. Whatever happened in the last moment, whatever happened yesterday, we can't worry about tomorrow. Right? It's easy to look up at that scoreboard and see, oh man, that person's catching up. Doesn't matter. Play your game. All you can do is play your shot. You can't play your opponents. You can't worry about what could be. Well, what if they make this and I bogey this and then that? Doesn't matter. And it got really interesting. I think it was on the 16th hole. Matsuyama had struggled a little bit, and he was working backwards, right? He was going the wrong direction and getting closer to his competitors as opposed to creating some separation. And it was coming down to 16, hole number 16, and they thought the guy he was playing with had made a couple great shots and was catching up. Matsuyama was going the opposite direction, so everyone thought, we're going to go into a playoff. We're getting to this par 3. His opponent's going to hit it close, and it's going to be game on for the next 2 holes, probably go to a playoff. And Matsuyama said that's what he was thinking too. On 16, he was thinking we're going to a playoff. Then his opponent triple bogeyed. First time in a major that he's ever triple bogeyed, he hit a triple bogey, which is 3 over par. He was supposed to get a 3 on the hole and got a 6. Completely took him out of contention. But for Matsuyama, it didn't matter. Whether his opponent bogeys or birdies or triple bogeys or like, that's fine. All I have to do is play my game. We get so worried about everything going on around us because if he was worried about his opponent, then he's not worried about his own shots. He's not thinking back through his preparation. He's letting his opponent and his circumstances determine his mindset. The best golfers, they're just dialed in. They may never look at the leaderboard. They may never even know what their opponent's score is. Like, I'm just going to play. I'm going to be so focused on every shot and bring my best to every moment and then live with whatever the outcome is. But the golfers who can do that are typically the best because they're not worried about the outcome. They're worried about what does this moment demand of me, which is how we have to show up this week, right? You can't worry about what this week could bring, how this meeting's going to go, how this project's going to go, all you can do is right now. Can you focus right now on bringing your best, on believing your best? Let go of the failures, let go of the successes. What does this moment demand of you? What does being your best in this moment look like? And can you get there? Acknowledge your insecurities, acknowledge the fears, acknowledge the stress, acknowledge the pressure. Those are all normal things. There's a great live stream that we did last week called At the Table, and it was Maria Guy and Amy Norton. And they had this great conversation around knowing when to express feelings and when to suppress feelings. And it wasn't ignore, but there's a time to like to express what you're feeling, to express what's going on inside. And there's a time to just say, no, this isn't going to lead to the right outcome. If I express this, I'm going to go way off course. I'm going to undermine influence. I'm not going to perform. It's going to be a distraction. That's what golf is. It's saying, I feel these feelings, but they're not going to lead me to the right place. I feel the stress. I feel the pressure. I see them. I hear them. I acknowledge them. I'm not going to let them dictate how I show up. And same thing for us, right? You feel the anxiety, you feel the stress, you feel the pressure. That's okay. You don't have to express those things. They don't have to be in the driver's seat. They don't have to control how you show up. You get to see them, understand them, name them, say, but I'm going to go this way. I'm going to walk up to this shot with full confidence, with full presence, because I've prepared to hit it. I've done the work. I'm ready for it. So I think that's the challenge for us this week, is to just focus on what you focus on. Focus on what you can control, because there's so many things that are trying to get your attention. There's so many things that are trying to distract you from your purpose, from the work that you actually need to do, from the people who need your best attention. And they're not all bad things. Right? Some of those distractions are actually good things, but they're not the right things. They're not what you need to be focused on. And so I think the ability to focus and be present and have that right mindset is a superpower, right? Because everyone's distracted. Those who can focus on what matters are those who will get better. That's those who will make progress, those who will make an impact, those who will be significant in the lives of others are the people who just don't get distracted by everything else going on. They say, I get it, I feel it, I understand it, but I'm going to choose to bring my best to this moment. I'm not going to get lost in all the noise. I'm not going to get lost in all the gossip. I'm not going to get lost in all the drama. I'm not going to get lost in everything else that's going on. I'm going this direction. This is my purpose. This is my path. And I'm going to bring my best to it and live with whatever outcome. Because Matsuyama, even though he showed up that way, even though he had that mindset and that focus and that calmness, doesn't guarantee a win, right? We can't guarantee outcomes, but you want to give yourself a chance. And that was the other thing with Matsuyama, is like, he never got too high, never got too low. And it's kind of the stoic mindset that can have some benefits, some issues as well. But the moment never got to him, right? He maintained his composure throughout the entire, good shot or bad shot, he maintained his composure. Can we do that? When you get challenged, can you maintain your composure? When you get questioned, can you maintain your composure? When you bomb a presentation, can you maintain your composure? Realizing that you're not defined by those outcomes, right? He's not defined by a bad shot. He's not defined by a great shot. What I also love in a world that just pursues accomplishment and validation and a platform, there are pictures on the internet this morning of Matsuyama flying back to Japan, and he's walking through the airport just like anybody else, got his green jacket over his shoulder, getting on a coach flight. No big deal, right? It's not, hey, I'm a Masters champion, treat me differently. It's like, I'm just a golfer and I had a good week. I won a great tournament, but I'm still who I am. The world may define him by those accomplishments, but he's like, that was just a great week of work, and he's proud of it. He's going to celebrate it. But those things don't change who you are, because next week there's another tournament and he's going to have to show up again and bring his best. If he wants to win, if he wants to compete, he can't rest on that accomplishment. It was something worth celebrating, acknowledging, but today's a new day, right? And so we have to have that mindset. We have to have short memories with our failures and with our successes. You just keep showing up and doing the work. You keep showing up and doing the next right thing and not get lost in outcomes. So those are my thoughts on golf, on the Masters, on mindset. It's why I want my kids to play golf. I don't really care about the competitive piece of it. I just want them to learn to battle through difficult moments. And golf is full of a lot of difficult moments, and you can quit, you can lose your cool, but the ability to battle through difficult things is such a massive skill that they're going to need later in life, and we all need to understand.
That's great. Yeah, what a great example. So Margaret here on the chat says, this is good, Kevin. Today doesn't care about yesterday's failures or successes. Today is new, so bring your best. She says, I've certainly allowed past failures to distract me from walking in confidence today. So what would you say are some just practical things to help us get past past failures?
That's a great question. And I think this is all of us, right? So Margaret, don't feel like something's wrong that you tend to like focus on those failures. We all do it, right? It's a fairly normal thing. I think one is like, I would somehow write it out, get it out of your head. I think there's some kind of power in writing things, blogging things, journaling things, just to give it some finality. Because the more it's in your head, the more you're going to think about it. And so write down whatever that event was, and I would write down like what you learned from it. And also realize like, yes, it happened, but you're still here, right? It didn't destroy everything. And we've talked about on the Monday Mindset before that you've overcome every obstacle that you've ever faced. You've overcome every failure that you've ever experienced. And it may not have always looked how you wanted it to look, but you're still here. And so I think don't live in those failures. Remind yourself of the truths of who you actually are and the successes that you've had. And you have to counter that negativity with truth, with positivity, with confidence. And it's not an ego thing. So yeah, that thing happened, but that's not who I am. You know, I had 2 years in business where I made $0. I was an absolute failure in business. That doesn't mean I'm a failure as a person. So also realize that those failures are just things. It's not you. You failed at certain things and you fell down at certain things, but that's not an identity thing. I'm not a failure. I was a failure at running a couple businesses. That's okay. I couldn't, if I had lived in that failure, I wouldn't have successful business today because I'd just still be living in that and reminding myself of that every day. You can't become your best if you're constantly reminding yourself of your worst. Like, and that the past is the past. You know, one of my favorite movies, and I have kids, but this is when I was younger, The Lion King. And at some point, Simba, I think it was his name. I'm so bad with details. He's talking to, I think his name was Rafiki, like the voodoo kind of monkey guy. And they're talking about the past. And he's like, you know, your past is gone. And so then the monkey hits him over the head. He's like, oh, what was that for? And the monkey goes, it's in the past. It doesn't matter. With the point being like, stop dwelling in the past, right? Like live this moment. Stop reliving all of your past.
That's good. All right. Ian has a question. He says he's a small business owner. I have a high performing team that has the best attitude and mindset, but they are the only one. I guess they're the only team like that. How can I multiply their attitude to some of my other teams?
Ooh, this is a great question. One, I love that you're thinking this way because we would say that you're only as healthy as your unhealthiest team, right? Your small business has a number of subcultures and they all have those subcultures all have unique cultures within them. And one of them may be super healthy. You know, in our language, we'd say, you know, maybe they're at a 90% on an invincibility score and another team's at a 35%. Well, can't just celebrate the 90%. We've got to work on the 35 and say, no, we've got to be healthy across the board. We have to have healthy cultures across the board. So I would look at what is that team doing differently than the other teams? Why, right? Why are the other teams not operating that way? And is there a way you can integrate and help that team say, hey, I love that you guys are doing well, but we don't operate in silos here. Like you're doing great, but you need to make sure this team's doing great as well. So what can you do to create some cross collaboration to where the healthy team is interacting with the unhealthy team and sharing best practices, sharing things that are working because it's the same company, same business, right? You're all after the same thing. And so to help that healthy team realize like, hey, if you can help the other teams get healthy, we all win. Like this is a win for all of us. So I think taking their best practices, their mindset, getting really clear, then figuring out what do we do now to get those into these other teams and give them time, right? It's like, don't come at them. It's almost like what you don't want to do in this is compare, right? I don't go to my middle son, like you need to be more like, that's not going to work, right? It's like, oh, great. You just shamed me into wanting to be like someone else. Like, no. I go to my middle son and just use my kids as an example. I want him to be the best version of him, not an average version of my oldest son or my youngest son. So to figure out what does healthy look like for this team and then put in practices that actually get them there. And it takes time, right? And so give them space to grow, to learn, to make progress, to fail. But use the practices that the other team is doing really well.
That's good. Let's go back to distractions, because I do watch golf every once in a while with my husband, and I think, how in the world do they keep focus when they've got all these fans around and there's cameras everywhere? And have you read much about how they do that mentally? And then how can you kind of translate to those of us who are working, and how do we keep from having the little, I guess what we call fourth gear things that distract us from getting our purpose actually done? So talk more about that.
Yeah, it's fascinating. Like, we think we face pressure, and sometimes we kind of do, but you're not standing in a 2 foot by 2 foot area around a golf ball, like on the tee box. I know the tee box is bigger, but where you're standing in this little area with could be hundreds or thousands of people around you, like within 15 feet, but also millions on TV, watching literally every single move that you are making. I mean, I've played in what they call pro-am tournaments, where it's it's always a Wednesday of a golf tournament, and you get 4 regular guys get to play with a pro. So a pro plays with some amateurs, and they play a round of golf, and you'll play with these guys, and it's mind blowing. Like, why have I never heard of you? Because usually you get stuck with some guy that's not great. You're not getting stuck with Tiger or Phil Mickelson or these guys. Now sometimes you do, but most of the time you're not. But these guys are still unbelievable golfers. Like, why have I never heard of you? It's like, well, because when they get on the first tee, it's fine playing with a bunch of amateurs. When the lights are on, they don't have it. They panic. And so, everyone handles it differently, but I think part of it is just having they visualize being out there. They visualize being in that moment. So when they're there, it doesn't feel new. 2, I think it's just a vision of what they're trying to accomplish, and realize, like, yeah, there's 100 people or 1,000 people. I mean, I love one of the coolest visuals in golf, and it doesn't matter what tournament, but it's coming up the 18th fairway to the 18th green with thousands of fans surrounding the 18th green, especially like if you're the winner, right? You're walking up and the people are going nuts, but you've just got to realize, like, they don't matter, meaning they're not hitting your shot. Whether there's 1,000 fans there or 0 fans, you still have a shot to hit. And that shot demands your attention. It demands your preparation. And they're not going to hit the shot for you. They're just there. And so the ability to acknowledge the distraction, but not get lost in the distraction. It's like, no, I've got to hit this shot. And I've hit this shot 10,000 times in my life. It's no different. Just because somebody's watching you doesn't make it different. But it's that mental thing. It's the same thing with our kids playing baseball. They can go to practice and go to the batting cages and just crush ball after ball after ball after ball. It's different when you're in a game because you feel pressure, but it's not really different. Like we feel the pressure because now it counts, but it's like you're still just swinging a bat at a baseball. You've done this thousands of times. Nothing else going on matters. It's just you hitting a baseball or you hitting a golf ball. So I think simplifying it is just super helpful when I talk to golfers. Like, all I can do is hit the shot. So if I can block out all that, like, at the end of the day, it's just me hitting a golf ball, and I've done that over and over and over in my life. If I can not put too much pressure on this shot, then I'm good. So I think the same thing for us, right? We get distracted. People need things from us. Well, we know that we need to be doing this work. This thing demands our best attention. Well, it doesn't matter what your boss says, what your team says, whatever. Like, you need to do this work. You need to be focused on this. Maybe it's a conversation with someone. Don't get distracted by the direction the conversation could go. It's like, no, I'm here to serve this person. I'm here to have this conversation. And most of the time, I think for us, similar to golfers, it's really just blocking the distractions of the voices in our head. Like, it's our own insecurities and fears are the distractions that are keeping us. They keep us busy, but not productive. And so we just go from task to task to task instead of just saying, no, this thing demands my attention.
It's really good. Yeah, great conversation. I love the example of golf, the focus. It's wonderful. So if you're listening, and I know many of you are on LinkedIn and Facebook, and you don't yet know Kevin well, or you don't know about Giant, we want to offer you a free, what we call a Send account. And so if you go to giant.tv/culture wins, that would connect you on our platform to Kevin if you ever want to have him speak to your group or come to a workshop about high performing teams or mindset or anything. Feel free to reach out to us and we'll connect you to him. But you can sign up for that free account at giant.tv/culturewins, and you'll see all kinds of content, including the Monday Mindset. We turn this live stream into a series that you'll find on Ascend. And so you can get a lot of help and information when it comes to mindset, but also self-awareness and team health and all of those things. So we invite you to do that. And as always, Kevin, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any last word?
No, I think just, again, every week we get to own our mindset. And so focus on what you focus on this week. Your mindset will make or break your week. Choose today to have a good week. Choose today to have a successful week, no matter what comes at you.